But
Mhm.
I think that as we are currently recording this on Labor Day, this episode will come out tomorrow, Tuesday the 8th. I think that everyone wants to hear what was your first week like while you were quarantined on Harvard's campus. Anya, I want to start with you. What was really interesting to you about the experience?
Sure. I'll say first things off, this week was tiring. It was exhausting. It felt like a month, but it had only been about 5 days. Um, it was just Zoom classes are a breed of their own, looking at a screen all day for about 2 hours, and then back to back classes, trying to figure out being independent, getting meals. I went on public transportation for the first time. That was a journey. I might have gotten lost a little bit, but we're still here. But overall, it's been exciting. I think there's so many really cool people at Harvard. It feels, I mean, it's kind of cheesy, but it feels magical to be at a place where everyone's so passionate and unique about what they do. You can go out in the yard and just find someone, sit down and talk to them, and you'll find out they're like the number one figure skater in the country, or even Janet like ran for student. Like, what are the odds of that? So overall, it's been a really eye-opening and probably the best week of my life in the past 7 months, I'd say.
Same, same. Um, I think that one of the things that you mentioned that I like could not agree more on is just like it's the cheesiest thing to say about like what makes Harvard Harvard or like why
Mhm.
did you choose Harvard, and it's just like genuinely the people. Um, I think the funniest part about my week has been like walking down to like get meals in like the Berg or something like that, and like you like look at people and everybody's wearing a mask, so like you like stare at them really hard and you like can't really tell who it is, and then like once you get close enough you can like wave at them and like say hi. Um, and just like the small little traditions that I feel like we're like forming, like being at Widener and like sitting on the steps and just like igniting conversations with random people, I feel like are like the highlights of my week. But I can also agree with like the Zoom fatigue is so real. Um, Sitting at a computer screen for like 5 hours a day. And I'm also like working remotely. So like it's like more like 10 hours a day for me of like just sitting in front of my computer screen and like finding time to like do stuff and, try to be social and like make friends during this like really unprecedented time of like lack of social interaction even on campus. But I feel like maybe it's just me, or I don't know if you guys also share the sentiment of it's been a lot better than I expected it to be. Like, I feel like we're still making really genuine connections with people despite all of the barriers and the 6 feet apart, mask on, not being able to like be in indoor spaces for almost a week with each other. I feel like real friendships have been forming. So,
For sure. I was talking to some people out on the yard earlier today, and we were all like, we did not expect it to be this free being on campus. I assumed we would be in our dorm all the time. I didn't think that I'd be able to make friends and talk to people, but it's been a lot better than I assumed. And I think there's so many genuine friendships happening, even in weird situations. Like you have to be far apart on the yard, playing
mhm.
frisbee, but like super spaced out. It's better than I thought it would be.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
this topic of Zoom fatigue that Janet, that you brought up is definitely something that I think all of us are definitely struggling with. David, what's your experience been like? Spending 5 hours a day at the computer.
Yeah, I mean, what's interesting is that I've actually experienced internet connection difficulty, not on my end, but actually on our professor's end. Since he's lecturing from his home, and yeah, I mean, it was funny. He fixed it the following lecture. So we had a Wednesday lecture and a Friday lecture, and his Friday lecture he had a long Ethernet cord running from the entire span of his room. I was like, all right, I'm literally grounded to the internet, so there should not be any problems, but yeah, it's just one of those things that it really makes you think about the unprecedented nature. And I know that that word has been thrown around a lot, but one thing that did strike me as interesting is that, of course, knock on wood, right? Knock on wood, that if this COVID thing lasted more than 2 years, potentially colleges could perhaps see Harvard as a model for returning students onto campus, albeit a giant caveat is of course the $43 billion endowment that
Mm.
allows the testing infrastructure to occur here. But I mean, it's just I feel like being on campus where, I think we are one of the very few campuses that have seen at least stable circumstances, right?
Mhm.
There have been colleges that have seen absolutely horrible
Yeah.
outcomes of returning students, and others just simply have not returned students.
Mhm.
Of course, there's our other hybrid decisions, but yeah, I mean, I'm really impressed with the amount of restrictions, despite some of them being more or less disregarded occasionally from what I've
Mhm.
seen. But yeah, like weird things. Like I don't know about you guys, but are your guys' halls like organized so that you can only go one direction, right? Because for us, we only have one entrance, so you have to enter the building from the backside street, and then
Mm.
there's like arrows that have say like one direction. You have to follow those. So like you don't.
Yeah, mine
I guess.
mine
Yeah.
isn't like that because
Not
mine so
normal.
my house is in the yard, I think, alongside all the other freshman houses, and so with us we only have one entrance and one exit. It's all the same door.
Oh.
So essentially, I guess
Oh,
mine,
okay.
Mm.
mine probably differs. Maybe that's an upperclassman housing thing. I'm not too sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, because
Yeah.
I'm in the yard and we have multiple entrances and exits.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Hmm.
I mean, but to David's point, I think it's very interesting to see the extent at which Harvard's guidelines have been working. I've pulled up in front of me a
Mhm.
dashboard that looks at testing results, and I shared this last time. It was originally shared to our group by David, who found this online. But essentially, this data metric shares the number of positive tests that have been seen in the last week or so, in
Mhm.
addition to the number of tests that have been conducted. Period. So as I'm looking at this now, as of the 7th of September. It is 5:18 p.m. So hopefully these great results don't really change by the time you post
Mhm.
this tomorrow. But in the last 7 days, not a single undergraduate student has tested positive. We have seen some positive tests among graduate students and faculty members, but undergraduates seem to be doing pretty well. So that's definitely something to be very proud of, especially as David said, we've had some issues at other campuses around the country.